Hello there, welcome to Standard Voice Television News Channel. I am Svtv. Here are your top stories for today. Federal government registers 291,000 vulnerable households in Zamfara. NCDC reported 419 new cases, totaling 17,148. APC appoints acting chairman after court upholds Oshomule's suspension. On business, Nigerians to pay more for electricity from July. And on the international scene, Uganda plans election in early 2021, but no rallies. Now the news in details. A total of 291,000 households of poor and vulnerable persons across 6 local government areas of Zamfara have been registered under the federal government social protection program. The exercise was coordinated by the State Operating Coordinating Unit SOCO, headed by Malam Hamza Salihu. Malam Salihu made the disclosure on Tuesday at the biannual media roundtable on social protection in the state, organized by Child Development Grant Program CDGP to Save the Children International. Malam Salihu, who is also the State Director of Budget, said that the state joined the program in 2018. In Zamfara, 6 local government areas were selected for a pilot program, 2 local governments from each of the 3 senatorial districts of the state. The 6 local government areas are Karana Moda, Birnin Magaji from Zamfara North, Bungudu, Svtv from Central Zone, and Talata Mafara Anka from Zamfara West Senatorial District. The death has been announced of Alhaji Aminu Gamagiwa, aged 55. Alhaji Gamagiwa died yesterday at the Federal Medical Center, Gusau, after a brief illness. According to reports, the deceased died of complications from diabetes and high blood pressure. Before his death, late Aminu Gamagiwa was the longest-serving local government party chairman in the state. He served as the local government party chairman for Marado local government for various political parties, including APP, PDP, ANPP, and APC before the campaign to PDP recently. Late Aminu Gamagiwa, who was survived by his mother, 4 wives, 37 children, and 15 grandchildren, may his departed soul rest in perfect peace. Amen. 2 shopping malls were on Wednesday demolished in Talata Mafra Metropolis by the Matawalele administration. The 2 plazas were situated along Talata Mafra Sokoto Main Road. For more on the story, over now to our correspondent Samir Ibrahim for details.
2 shopping malls were on Wednesday demolished at Talata Mafra Metropolis by the operatives of Zamfara Urban and Regional Planning Board. The shopping plazas were situated along Talata Mafara Sokoto Main Road, where essential commodities, building and textile materials are being sold to members of the public. Commenting on the state government action, the owners of the structures, Alhaji Hayayari Abubakar and Alhaji Bello Al-Mustafa, said they have already challenged the planned demolition at the High Court of Justice Gusau, in which the case is yet to be determined when the board ruled out its bulldozers to destroy the buildings. They said as law-abiding citizens, they will still await the court verdict, claiming that they have all the legal documents to claim ownership of the sites. However, our correspondent Arusamaila Mafara tried to seek the version of Zureb through its Director General Alhaji Sanusi Ahmad Lilu, but the effort proved abortive as he left the office after giving appointment to a team of journalists, only to call later on phone to say he could not comment on the issue via telephone. And up to the time of filing in this report, he did not call as he promised to do so. Samira Ibrahim reporting for SVTV.
Governor Aminu Bello Masari of Katsina State to keen watchers of Nigeria's democracy as a patriot, a great reformer who has shown total commitment towards Katsina and Nigeria's development since his day as Speaker of the House of Representatives. The restoration agenda of his administration spells out a vision of Katsina State that is prosperous, integrated, peaceful, secured, and recognizes the full potential of its human capital. And as a respected player on the national stage, Masari was re-elected last year for another term of 4 years to chart a course at the Katsina State that the citizens desire, as democracy serves no purpose if it does not advance the well-being of the people. Since the inauguration of Masari's administration for a second term, his government has been faced with insecurity manifesting in killing, kidnappings, banditry, cattle rustling, and wanton destructions of rural economy. This resulted in corresponding rise in the number of displaced persons in the affected local government areas of the state, as the government initiated series of engagement processes with key stakeholders and leaders in the various communities to explore the options of stabilizing security conditions in the area. However, the government did not apparently get the total support from all stakeholders within and outside the state, including the federal government. One of the cardinal objectives of President Muhammadu Buhari's administration is the entrenchment of peace and provision of security to all areas of the country, including the state. But this cannot be said to have materialized in his home state, Katsina, which has fallen far short of what can be achieved in any part of the country, at the northwest geopolitical zone in particular. Until a couple of weeks ago, the performance of security agency and military in the fight against insecurity in Katsina State had been very disappointing. The security situation in the state has worsened considerably, particularly in the time frontline local government areas bordering Rugu Forest and about 4 of the local governments that share borders with the Bellegarde Council areas. The presidency assures Nigerians again that the nation's armed forces are fully capable of dealing with the challenge of banditry and terrorism, urging more patience as the military takes appropriate steps to block gaps being exploited to unleash more harm on innocent citizens. President Muhammadu Buhari, who has approved a joint military and police operation specifically targeted at Kambin, Niger, Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara, and Sokoto states to raid the areas of bandits, assures that civilians will be improved with more night vision aircraft already deployed under Operation Accord. The operation was launched 3 weeks ago. Nigeria's military has displayed its capability in the past and will show it again as dealing with the current challenges. President Buhari appealed to the people of Katsina State to be patient and supportive of the ongoing military operations in the state, while sympathizing with those who are buried, injured, and lost properties. Unlike in some states where media men suffers from molestation, harassment, and other forms of disappointment from the hands of the power that be, Kano State Governor Abdullahi Umar Ganduje has been described as one of the frontline governors who protects and promotes free press. The assertion was made at the African House Government House Kano at a parley with head of media house in Kano State, which brought together media heads from different media organizations, government-owned media and private media organizations in the state. Chairman of the Kano State Head of Media Forum, Prince Aboki of Wazobia FM, Kul FM, Arewa Radio said they must uphold the governor for keeping in good touch with the working journalists in the state. He reasoned that media men must uphold the governor for the cordial relationship between the state government and journalists. As a fallout of the current COVID-19 pandemic, the Kano State government under Dr. Abdullahi Umar Ganduje is perfecting plan and process of reviewing the 2020 budget with 30% cuts to face the challenge posed by the pandemic. The fiscal document, according to the governor, after ensuring workable cuts, would be taken to the Kano State Assembly for further legislation and passage. He made the revelation during a media parley which took place at African House Government House Kano Monday, assuring that With the new budget size, the state will do everything possible to see that the security in the state's health and condition, among other critical sectors, were not compromised. The governor said that the budget is being reviewed with 30% cuts just to match with the challenge posed by the COVID-19 pandemic. As the case world over, the reviewed documents will soon be taken to the State House of Assembly. The Nigeria Center for Disease Control (NCDC) has reported 490 new cases of the COVID-19 virus in Nigeria, totaling 17,148 cases in the country. The agency made this known in its tweets, said that Lagos State has 142 cases of the coronavirus, while the FCT has 60 cases. Bayelsa State has 54 cases, while Rivers State has 39. Delta State has 37 cases, while Oyo has 30 cases reported, among other states. NCDC also reported the discharge cases of 5,623, while the number of deaths is 455. There was a ray of hope on Tuesday that varsities and other schools may reopen after some precautionary measures have been put in place against coronavirus disease. The federal government, however, listed 6 conditions for each school to fulfill to protect people and students against coronavirus disease COVID-19. It also asked all heads of schools to start working on how to put the measures in place ahead of resumptions of classes. Among other conditions, the government is demanding the contamination of all schools and new class size, which will accommodate social and physical distancing. Besides, the government assured unjust parents of the final year secondary school students that it was discussing with the National Examination Council, NECO, National Business and Technical Examination Board, NEPTEB, and West African Examination Council, WAEC, on ways of responding to the COVID-19 pandemic challenge. The decision had been focusing on how the students were set for the senior school certificate examination, but the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB, yesterday released cut-off mark for admission into universities, polytechnics, college of education, and other institutions. The cut-off mark are minimum of 160 universities, 120 polytechnic, 100 college of education, and monotechnic others, 100 plus. The Minister of State for Education, Mr. Chukwuemeka Nwajoba, announced the condition for the reopening of schools in Abuja at the 2020 policy meeting on admissions in tertiary institutions in Nigeria by the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAMB. The minister said the Presidential Task Force is working assiduously with facts and figures that mirror the realities of our current situation and circumstances. The government directed medical doctors across the country to open registers for workers who show up for work as from 7 a.m. Wednesday, 17th June 2020. National Association of Resident Doctors (NAD) on Monday declared a nationwide strike following alleged government's failure to meet its demands. Minister for Labor and Employment, Senator Ngigi, summoned the striking doctors to a meeting on Tuesday to resolve the issue raised by the doctors. The meeting, which started at 11 p.m., lasted till 7:40 p.m. Health Minister Dr. Ehanire said his ministry would issue a directive to medical doctors across the country to record doctors who report for work and those who fail to do so. He declared the decision to the resident doctors to down-tool when the world is struggling to combat the COVID-19 pandemic. The minister said Nigeria was the first country where doctors went on strike in the midst of the current global pandemic. The ruling All Progressive Congress has appointed an acting national chairman after the Court of Appeal in Abuja upheld the suspension of Adams Oshomole. The party said the former governor of Oyo State, Abiola Ajimobi, will be its interim leader, guided by advice from the party's legal department in line with the provision of Section 14, subsection 2 and 3 of the party's constitution. The deputy national chairman, South Senator Abiola Ajimobi, will serve as the party's acting national chairman. The party's spokesman, Lanre Issa Anilo, said in the statement Tuesday night. According to the Section 14, subsection 2 and 3 of the APC Constitution, the Deputy National Chairman, North-South, shall act as the National Chairman in the absence of the National Chairman from his zone. The three-member panel of the Appeal Court had earlier affirmed the suspension of Mr. Oshomole on Wednesday in Abuja. In a judgment delivered by Justice Muhammad Lamido, the panel dismissed Mr. Oshomole's appeal for lacking in merits. The panel accordingly affirmed the decision in Abuja High Court, which had in earlier March ordered the suspension of Mr. Oshomole as APC National Chairman. Mr. Oshomole was earlier suspended by the APC in Edo State in what is part of his battle with the state governor Godwin Obaseki. The Federal High Court also ruled that his suspension was legal and ordered Mr. Oshomole to stop parading himself as APC National Chairman. The suspension was initially lifted after the appellant court granted a stay of execution of the High Court's order. The Appeal Court on Wednesday, however, ruled that Mr. Oshomole's suspension was valid. This throws a new twist into the Edo State APC crisis as the party prepares for the governorship election. Earlier on Tuesday, Mr. Obaseki announced his resignation from the APC. Rivers State's Governor Yesim Woke has described the APC-led Nigeria's Governors Forum as nothing but a toothless dog that can only bark but cannot bite. The governor berated the APC governors for remaining silent and doing nothing while injustice was meted out of one of their own and Governor of Edo State Godwin Obaseki, who was disqualified from contesting the party's primary slated for June 22nd. The Rivers State governor says Governor Godwin Obaseki's disqualification from contesting the September 9th governorship election was made possible by the culture and impunity that has engulfed the APC and will therefore not oppose to Obaseki joining the PDP. As Nigerians joined the international community to celebrate the Day of the African Child, President Muhammadu Buhari has pledged the commitment of government to protect children from sexual violence, domestic abuse and exploitation. The president also reiterates that his administration will continue to ensure that every Nigerian child has access to quality and affordable education by promoting free and compulsory basic education for the first 9 years of schooling. President Buhari expresses concern in the recent spate of sexual and physical violence on the girl child and directs relevant government agencies to scale up support for victims of violence and ensure that those who have infringed on their rights face the full weight of law. The president affirms that it is the right of every Nigerian child to be protected from sexual or physical violence and abuse and to enjoy an environment conducive for learning and development. President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, on Wednesday charged the Senate Committee on Power to look at what has happened to the agreement signed in 2019 on the privatization of power sector. Senator Lawan gave the charge while declaring open and investigative public hearing by the Senate Committee on Power. The public hearing was on power sector recovery plan and the impact of COVID-19 pandemic. The Senate President said the overall expectation of the Nigerian government and the citizens was that the power sector after privatization would be far better, but lamented that the expectation was yet far from being fulfilled. The power holding company of Nigeria was unblinded to pave a way for the emergencies of 6 generating companies, Gencos, 11 distribution companies, Descos, and 1 transmission company of Nigeria, but the Gencos and Descos are fully privatized outfits. And on the business, Samira Ibrahim.
Hello, I'm Samira Ibrahim with the business update. Nigerians are expected to pay higher electricity tariff from next month, the Minister of Power, Salim Mamman, insisted on Tuesday. He spoke during his presentation at an investigative public hearing on power sector recovery plan and the impact of COVID-19 pandemic organized by the Senate Committee on Power in Abuja. Minister Mamman said the controversial increase will have taken effect in April, but was postponed till next month due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the widespread apathy towards the increase by Nigerians. Mamman said the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has also affected our laid-out plan for the repositioning of the electricity market towards financial sustainability under the Power Sector Recovery Program. And that's all we have on business. I'm Samira Ibrahim.
And on the international scene, Uganda's Election Commission on Tuesday published a roadmap for presidential and legislative election in the early 2021. As surging fears the coronavirus pandemic would force a delay, put a plan to ban rallies and gathering during the campaign, draw a rebuke from the leading opposition politician who said it was designed to favor long-term President Yoweri Museveni. A calendar posted on the Commission's Twitter account Tuesday called for voting to take place between January 10th and February 8th next year, which exacts polling dates to be appointed in due courses. That timeline is in line with Constitution. In an interview with a private television station last month, Museveni, in power since 1986, had seemed to raise the possibilities of a delay, saying it would be madness to continue with elections while the virus is around. Uganda has officially recorded 724 COVID-19 cases and no deaths. The election will go ahead as planned. This will be early January and February next year. Justice Simon Megenye, the Election Commission chairman, told APF. That has been the news from Standard Voice Television. To end the news, a quick look at the major headlines. Federal government registers 291,000 vulnerable households in Zamfara. NCDC reported 490 new cases, totaling 17,148. APC appoints acting chairman after court upholds Oshomule's suspension. On business, Nigerians to pay more for electricity from July. And on the international scene, Uganda plans election in early 2021, but no rallies. That's the news. On behalf of the management crew, Head of News and Current Affairs Ibrahim Gabatino, I'm Fozia Ibrahim. Have a nice day.